Hello, hello, and welcome to the second half of season 5. I can't believe that we're already halfway through the year. My name is Debbie Heiser. I help entrepreneurs make a lot of money doing what they love without sacrificing what's important to them. I feel an urgency to help people let go of past messaging so that they can lead a lit up life. And with that, I want to again welcome you. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the show.
Straight from the corners of my mind is where I find my sanity.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. I am here today with my friend Mickey Quinn. Mickey and I both live in Sandpoint, and we were talking before we started this recording because I couldn't remember the exact moment that we met. She did, Mickey did, because our paths have just crossed so much in the time that we've been in this profession, and we're in very similar professions. And we met at a conference. What intrigued me and wanted me to have Mickey on this episode is Mickey started a group here in Sandpoint. We used to have a women's group called 7B Women. We live in a county that's 7B, and it was a great group, pretty large group actually. And when it dismembered, Mickey, I don't know, it was probably about a year later, wasn't it? Or maybe 6 months? It was
just a few months after they ended.
Okay. She started this group called, and I'm sure she's going to tell you a little bit more about it, but Level Up Networking. And what I love about it is I go to so many networking events where there's great speakers. I mean, I've been some of those speakers. There's vendors all around the place, but no one ever really teaches you how to network. You just show up and it's like, go network. And one of the things I love about Mickey's group is you come in, we have a short speaker to give some content and value add. But what ends up happening is she teaches you then how to network and splits you out into groups and creates that atmosphere. And I just adore that. And I'm so happy that you do that, Mickey. But I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you for being here today. I want you to introduce yourself and tell us how you show up in the world.
Well, thanks, Debbie, for having me on. I'm Mickey Quinn. I run Mickey Quinn Consulting, which is a coaching, training, consulting business here locally in Sandpoint. But my background for over 25 years was in corporate retail. So I started out as a store associate and worked my way up the corporate ladder and ended up in store operations. So it's kind of the filter in the funnel between the corporate office and the stores, and really learned a great deal about how to manage from afar and how to build great communications with a team that doesn't get to see each other face to face every day. So communications, learning all about that became really big in what I'm doing now. But it was the leadership development and the personal development of the people on my team to help them be the best that they could be is what led me to what I'm doing now. After my last final gig in the retail corporate world, I started my own business to coach individuals, businesses, and teams to be the best that they could be. And I show up in the world, and this is interesting because I just recently did an email blast to my distribution list and asked them, who do you believe me to be? Because I wanted to, check and make sure that who I thought I was showing up as is what is being perceived. Correct. And it was really interesting to hear the comments, but the most common words were professional, calm. I think almost everybody used the word calm, had a calming effect, and gently nudged others to do more, be more, have more. So it was really interesting to hear the descriptors, and they did line up with who I thought I was presenting. But it was nice to get that confirmation that they are seeing me that same way.
Oh, fantastic, Mickey. That's a great idea. And let me ask you, I want to back up for a minute because you were talking about working with individuals and businesses. What would you say, like, as you look at your clients? Because one of the things that I want all of you that are listening is to understand, like, who I have on, like who they serve. And so when you think about your clientele, is it that you prefer or love to work with businesses that have more of the retail spin, or are retail stores, retail businesses, or is it all across the board? Like, give us a little idea of the type of client that you work with.
Mm-hmm. So locally here in Sandpoint, it's been primarily small business owners or individual professionals such as CPAs, real estate associates or agents.
Yeah.
But my real niche is working with small retailers. Because that's my background, I'm really passionate about helping brick and mortar retailers survive and thrive in this new age. But I've also found that I have a sub kind of a attraction for clients who are transitioning and want to identify what they really want to do, especially in maybe a later half of their life. They've owned a business, they sold it, and now they're moving into doing something that they really want to do, and they're having some challenges figuring out what that is.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that, Mickey. And what prompted you, I mean, other than the 7B women kind of going away, what prompted you to want to start a group and teach people how to network? Why is that important to you?
Well, I saw a need of so many people here locally that want to feel connected. And the groups that I participated in, there was often, as you described, networking, conferences or events that you go to, there was somebody always talking at the front of the room, and you might get to meet somebody who was sitting next to you at your table, or if you were brave enough to go up to somebody and talk to them. But there wasn't any kind of an event that I could find locally in Sandpoint that really was specifically geared towards business people and helped them meet other business people just to get, that benchmarking and, oh, are you having this problem? And, how did you solve it? And I wanted to create something that would be that venue where people could come in and have those conversations and structure it so that those conversations could take place and you didn't have to come up with the thoughts and the questions yourself. I wanted to take the awkward out of networking.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And that's what I love about it. And so when you think about, I think of you as a connector too, like you're someone that helps connect people. And so when you think about like your own journey, tell me, like, I know you started it after your last gig, but what's your why behind this? What's your like connection to your soul that has you doing this?
Well, that's a very deep question, Debbie.
Oh, sorry. You weren't expecting that one. Sorry, I didn't prep you for that one.
No, but that's actually something that I use in my coaching is to identify your why. Because if you don't have a really strong, powerful why, you aren't going to make it through that valley of despair when the change is hard and you're feeling uncomfortable and you just want to run back to the way things used to be. And so my why is to help others be the best that they can be. And every natural thing in the world grows and develops to be the biggest and the most that it can be. Every tree, every flower, it's just part of its DNA. As much water and sunlight you can give it, it's going to get as big as it possibly can. Humans are the only intelligent creature that actively doesn't do that. We are not ingrained in us to grow and to be the most that we can possibly be. And so that's my why, is I want to help others to achieve that, because we're capable of so much. And it's just saying yes to the opportunities, to recognizing and becoming aware of when what we're focusing on is what's just going to be presented to us, because that's what our subconscious brain focuses on. And so if we can open our eyes and have that objective third party, me as the coach, help them see and hold up the mirror. This is what I'm hearing you say, but then this is what I see that you do, and help them bridge the gap between those things and become aware of their habits that drive their behaviors, that are delivering them the results that they're getting. If they don't like their results, then we have to go back to the beginning and change their thoughts and their behaviors.
Yeah, Mickey, let's talk about that a little bit, because I know this is a shameless plug. I'm just going to put it out there because I'm pretty transparent, that you and I had some conversations, and Mickey, I was honored enough to have Mickey at one of my events in Sandpoint that I held, one of my retreats. And I'm so bad with time. It was probably about a year ago, wasn't it? October? Was it October?
Last year. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you and I had some conversation. And so when you think about helping your clients with the thoughts, because you and I do very similar work with this, right? Like this whole mindset piece around what we think and what we believe is what happens, right? That's where we're focusing our flashlight. And I know you had some breakthroughs at that event. And so can you describe a little bit, because we all have them, right? Like I've had situations, and it's a consistent layer. So for those of you listening, I don't want you to think like, oh, Mickey and I have all of our shit together because we're coaches. No, right? Like there are layers that we consistently bump up against because we all have these core fears and these core wounds that we have. And so when we talk about our beliefs and our thoughts, those are created like from a neuroscience perspective by these messages that we get. And even though our conscious brain can deflect a message, our subconscious brain can't. So that deflected message still goes into our subconscious. So I know there were some things you were kind of wrestling with. Can you share with the group too, like maybe what's a struggle that you've had and how you shifted? Because I know you had a pretty big shift there that opened some things up for you.
Yes. Yeah, the retreat was a fabulous experience. I really enjoyed it. And it was one of the exercises that you had us do that at first I was like, oh, I'm not going to get anything out of this exercise. And
was that the toy exercise?
Yes,
yeah.
all the little objects that we had to
Yep.
use to represent different parts of our current state of being, where we wanted to be. But it was that exercise that got me to recognize that I was holding myself back in tapping into my 25 years of experience in working for retailers. And I was doing well with my coaching and training and consulting locally with business people that I'd met here, but I wasn't tapping into the nationwide opportunity of helping retailers, small to mid-size, across the country. And there was probably some imposter syndrome in that, who am I to do that and to help tell a retailer, how to build their leadership team. But I realized that, well, of course I should be able to do that because of my 25 years experience. And I wasn't actively pursuing those that I knew, or just reaching out to retailers that fit the profile of who I can help. Yeah. And that was a very big aha moment for me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Mickey. And it's interesting because I hope you all heard this, because what Mickey's talking about is how she serves her clients is to help them think bigger, right? And we all have to go through those exercises to help ourselves think bigger, because we get into these modes where, I don't know, I almost think of horses, when they put in the old days when they put blinders on them, and I think they still do maybe when they do wagon thing, whatever. I'm not in that group, so I don't know. I should not even try to bring that analogy in, but where they have blinders on and you're just in this lane of where you're at. And so, Mickey, it sounds like too, what you help other people do is exactly then what you experienced. Open up and see the possibilities, see the different things that can happen, help them think outside the box, because let's face it, like, I don't know about you. Let's get real here. I can't tell you how many people I talk to that they want transformation. They want things to be different, but they don't want to change.
Yes. Yes. That's a classic.
And in your particular niche with retail, because we've seen more and more, like I saw something yesterday on LinkedIn about Bed Bath & Beyond, that it's here, but now they just went to an online platform.
Yes.
No more retail stores, which, we're seeing more and more of that happen. And the beautiful thing is, I think, is that it allows then more of these boutique retail places to come forward. So part of it is helping, like what I see you doing, and I'm putting words in your mouth and I need to ask these questions, but what I see you doing is helping those folks stay relevant in a market where people still want to go out and go shop. They don't want to be just online. And so tell me, if you could think about like maybe the top 3 things that you see that your clients have struggled with. Like, do you see a theme of things that people tend to, some of it's mindset, but like what they tend to struggle with and how you kind of help them overcome that?
Well, from a business standpoint, one of the biggest things I see is that especially an entrepreneur, business owner, or someone who has gotten really high up in their field, they feel like they have done that, their experience, they have the skills, and they don't need any outside counsel or advice or a coach. And nothing could be further from the truth, because no one has achieved greatness, real greatness, entirely on their own. All of the most successful people in the world in business had coaches, had mentors, advisors. They surround themselves with teams that know things better than they do to help them succeed. And it is so accessible, and a lot of people don't even think to do it. But that's the number one thing, is that they feel like they have to do it on their own. The second thing I find that almost all of my clients benefit from is better communication skills. Active listening. And it's so interesting how there are three components to communication. There's verbal, there's paraverbal, which is how we say the words, and then there's the nonverbal, and that's everything else. But the majority of what the receiver of a communication that's going back and forth between two people, the receiver picks up 93% of the message from how the words are said and the body language, not what the words were. And so if you're trying to build a relationship with someone online, or, someone over the phone or via email, and you really don't know them very well yet, they're really not paying as much attention to the words as everything else.
Yeah.
And so the communication is so important. And after the pandemic, I think as humans, we discovered a need for in-person connection. And so brick and mortar retail is not going anywhere. It may evolve. There may be new components that you have to consider, but it's here to stay. And I think sometimes people get into the thought that, I can just get it online. Yeah, but if you're not quite sure what you want, you're not going to go online and search, because you'll get distracted and bombarded, and the choices are too much. You'll get overloaded. There's a place for brick and mortar retail, and it is just has to adjust a little bit and change.
Yeah. And Mickey, it's interesting that you say that, because I think about, I'm not a big shopper. I don't love to go to the Mall of America and hang out, right? That's not my idea of a good time. But I love going in, and I don't know if part of that's living in Sandpoint, but when I go somewhere, and a lot of times the little downtowns will have, not little, but the downtowns will have these boutique shops. I love going in there, because you find some of the most unique things. And, just the other day, Crazy Days was happening, and I wasn't planning on shopping. And I walked by one of the stores. I've been manifesting in my mind this linen pair of pants that I wanted to buy for my trip to Italy. I turned and I'm like, whoa, hold on. One pair of pants in my size, almost the exact same thing that I've been visioning in my head, was there. And that's what I love about these boutique stores, is there's all these really unique things. And so for me too, it's about the experience, because I've tried that before. I went out and searched women's linen pants, and I'm like, whoa, half the stuff I'm getting, they're not even linen. They're, it's just too overwhelming. So I think you're onto something there. Well, obviously, because you know what you're doing. But when I think about it too, I'm glad to hear you say too, that this, after coming out of the last couple of years with the pandemic and Black Lives Matter, all of the things that occurred during that time, people are wanting more and more of that FaceTime value and more of the experience. That's what I'm hearing anyway, versus, I can order my food online now and get it delivered, and it saves me some time. But those experiences of getting something more personal to what it is that you want, whether it be jewelry, accessory, whatever it is, right, that you would go into a retail store. So do you find that some of your retail clients, do they have fear about what's coming?
Definitely. I think that there's a big majority of the population that has fear of the unknown. Is it inflation, recession, what's happening in the political environment? And I remind my clients to zero in on what you can influence and what you can control. And really, there's just three things that we can control 100%: our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, what can we influence? And the first thing that we can influence are those that we come in contact with. So be a better person, be the best you can possibly be. And that has a ripple effect.
Yeah.
It amplifies because it's energy.
Well, and to that point too, Mickey, the negative connotation, right? Like, I don't want to get into a conversation about whether or not a recession is coming or not, but I don't like to even like pay attention to those things. It's not that I put my head in the sand, like it's out there in the peripheral. But to your point, if I just focus on showing up in service and serving the people that I know that I can serve and helping them. And I've seen a lot of businesses get really innovative during times, whether that be struggle, like during COVID. I saw estheticians doing some really unique things, like a facial in a box kind of thing. I mean, all sorts of things that create this, I don't know, it just gets that creative juice flowing. And it was interesting because as you were talking about change, I was thinking, how cool would it be to walk into a place and there's like a mirror and it took your measurements and you could pop in like what you were looking at, kind of like those apps that give you the hairstyles that you can check on your head and like see what an outfit would look like on you. And then bam, it would like go out. I'm thinking of Disney now. I'm getting really crazy here. You can tell me to be quiet, but like where all these little minions then go off and they find the outfit and they bring it back and then you try it on. And it's like, bam, I'm done. Right. Like, who knows in 40, 50 years what that would look like, right?
Yeah, well, actually, there is some technology that some retailers are testing where it is a mirror and you can virtually try on different outfits. It hasn't really taken off yet because right now it's still pretty pricey.
Yeah,
and lots of glitches, but
yeah,
but
it'd be cool.
Thoughts out there.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. I don't feel so bad about that then. Okay, so Mickey, if you could leave, I actually want to ask you one more question and then we'll wrap it up. What is a book that you've either read this year or in the process of reading that you say, run, don't walk, go get this book?
The Success Principles by Jack Canfield.
Okay.
Author of the Campbell Soup books.
Yeah.
It's a thick book, but oh my goodness, I led a workshop on it earlier this year, and it's just so many ahas, like mind blown.
Okay. Awesome. I need to add that one to my list. I like his stuff. What was the name of it again?
The Success Principles.
The Success Principles. I'm writing that down. Okay. Perfect. And then Mickey, if someone wants to get a hold of you, they want to talk to you a little bit more about what you do, they might even want to hire you as a coach, where would you send them?
MickeyQuinnConsulting.com.
Okay.
And if they are a retailer, RetailLevelUp.com.
Okay.
And if they're local in Sandpoint, Idaho, and they want to check out the networking group, it's the second Tuesday every month, and they go to grouplevelup.com. Perfect.
We'll have those in the show notes. And Mickey, thank you so much for your time today. And for those of you that are listening, have a fabulous week, and we'll see you next week. Thanks so much for listening. The song Ride is co-written and sung by Miss Jackie Wilson and her collaborators Tyler Banks, David DJ Lee, and Chris Renee. And a huge shout out to them for allowing us to use this perfect song. Everyone have a fabulous week, and I'll talk to you next week.